The Guyver. Yeah, that's right, folks. This episode, if you're watching it on YouTube, it's coming out a little bit early. Normally, we talk about these movies on Movie Tales on Saturday. But the holiday season is upon us. I got a lot of stuff going on. So I figured I don't want to leave you hanging. It's going to come out early. And we're going to talk about a film in the Galactic Tales repertoire. One that I have been interested in talking about for a while. Because this is like our cup of tea. Big costumes, insane performances, and the era of 90s schluck that is a direct response to success of something previous to it. This film, based on the ongoing saga that is the story of Guyver throughout manga. Is it manga or is it just like anime? Is it? I know it's anime. You know, it's in like the Power Rangers, Super Sentai, Kamen Rider, Gundam. Just one of those things that just permeates internationally that American audiences love. And if we try to do like an American version of it, it's going to be a little bit different. This movie is like part produced by like a Japanese backer, but also like an American filmmaker. And you're like, okay, Screamin' Mad George is making a movie. Sure. Why? I don't know. But he's making one. And it's distributed by New Line. They are the ones putting this movie out, which makes a lot of sense because the year prior to this, in 1990, they made a little independent film called Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, which this movie feels so evocative of in a lot of the wrong ways. Much like that movie, it is taking a darker, more mature tone of a story that has its fan base and making it lighthearted and nice and very, very interesting. This film it's just so messy and so silly in all the ways I don't really love. I don't hate this thing. There's stuff I hate about it, but I get it. Like, I know what the idea was in here. I know how you see, from like an American-based standpoint, a big rubbery lizard, and you go, it should be joking like it's a black man. Like, somehow, I see the logic behind everyone involved on that side of things. It's dumb and pointless, and I think we've seen, as things progress, like the success of Ultraman and Godzilla stuff, people don't need this to be silly. But we were in that era where it's a big suit that you wear because like an alien built it and like aliens made humans. So they could be like a bioweapon to fight against this other thing. That's still silly to some people in the 90s. So bringing that to America, it's not going to be fully formed or great in any capacity of the word. But this movie does a lot of stuff really well. I think it utilizes its budget pretty good. It doesn't seem very expensive. Of course it's not. We have a couple of sets, mainly just like darkly lit rooms and back alleys and like a big warehouse and then a lab. Yeah, back alley, warehouse, lab are like the main sets where stuff goes on. And you could tell a lot of the budget went into making the suits. They all look really good. They look really impressive. They got very distinctive style. They are very oily and organic looking and feeling. I appreciate that a lot. The Guyver suit, pretty damn good. It looks really cool. It's like, it is the best looking thing on the screen when it is on screen. I like all the other designs for like the weird gremlin looking creatures, like the weird furry one with boobs and stuff. It's really impressive. But the Guyver suit, man, as soon as that thing just like appears on screen, you're like, oh yeah, this is why we're doing it. Because we have a really cool design that we can make look really cool in live action. And it looks really great. Even an American knows how to make this look good. Now, I'm not saying like an American designed the costume or like built it, but an American audience can find this very appealing. And I think that part works for the most part. Where it starts to lose itself is in almost everything else going on. So we are following Sean Barker, played by Jack Armstrong. I feel like that name's come up before. I could just be like relating it to somebody else. I don't know. Sean studies like Kung Fu or something. He's got like a hot girlfriend played by Vivian Wu. And her dad is like a secret scientist who's secretly a fish man. And he gets killed because he's trying to like expose the power of Guyver to find a host for it. And he gets killed by evil like lizards. So That's a cool way to open the movie. And then we cut to Sean, and he's fighting like some guy in Kung Fu, and it's lame as hell. And then that's also where we're introduced to the worst part of this movie, which is the character who is the first build, obviously. That's Mark Hamill playing Agent Max Reed. The worst character in this movie. I hate every scene with Mark Hamill in this movie. This is 1991, so Hamill hasn't had his resurgence yet. We're still a step away from the voice work that's going to make his career. He's unhappy. He doesn't want to be here. He looks tired and upset with himself at every single shot in this movie. It pisses me off. It really pisses me off that he's in here doing nothing. He looks terrible. He is terribly dressed. He has an ugly little mustache. I hate everything he's doing in this movie. He just shows up to tell Vivian's character, your dad died, and now I'm not leaving. He's in almost every scene of this movie, and it's really frustrating because he serves no plot and does nothing. The events still happen without him. Like, everything happens without him in this movie, and I can definitely see how a 1990s Mark Hamill is upset at like the career trajectory of his counterparts from another movie he did called Star Wars, a film we have talked about. Because Harrison Ford, he's doing good. Carrie Fisher, she made some fun comedies. Mark Hamill has to do this. A pale imitation of a Ninja Turtle movie from last year, which is a pale imitation of a Batman movie from the year prior to that. Trapped in a bubble of bullshit. He's unhappy. You can clearly see he's unhappy. And he's talking to, what is Vivian's character's name? Oh, Misky? Misky? Is that her name? Mitski? It's Misky. Okay. He's talking to Misky. And then they go to like the site where her dad's skeleton is found. And this is where I'm like, okay, like stuff is happening, obviously. Sean follows them. He's spying on her, trying to figure out why she was crying earlier in the dojo. He finds the Guyver device. And then later he goes to Mitski's house. And he's like wondering like why she's sad. But he just saw her at the crime scene. And she was with the agent. And he sees the agent, Max Reed, in her house. And he's like, oh, I get it. You're seeing another guy. I'll just leave then. I'm like, you saw her at the site, dude. You know what was happening there. Like, what? Why are you freaking out about this? You know what she was doing. Her dad just died. This is probably not like a suitor. What do you think's happening? Anyways, he just leaves again. He gets like attacked by some street toughs, racially ambiguous street toughs who are of every ethnicity but all have like a Mexican, accent. Turns into the Guyver, beats them up. It looks great. The Guyver suit's awesome. And that goes into another thing I kind of think is really impressive about this movie is the action is really good. It's very solid. It looks clean. We move the camera a lot in some interesting ways. There's a really cool like POV shot like later on in the film where we're fighting the big lizards. It looks clean. It looks really good. Like that looks really impressive. It has to because the rest of it's just like one location. That's really boring. So we do have a bad guy in this. It is played by David Gale, who might be a name you're familiar with. He started like the Reanimator series, whatever. He's like the big and credit, like, oh, he's the bad guy. Anyways, he eventually captures our main trio of characters because there's like a big Guyver fight where Guyver's fighting the lizards and he loses because there's like a racist dog, a big-breasted wolf or something. One that looks like a gremlin, one that looks like a stupid anteater thing. It's dumb. They beat everybody, essentially. They kill the Guyver. They think they kill the Guyver. We'll come back to that in a minute here. Then he takes Mitski. David Gale's character takes Mitski. And he's like, yeah, so there's like actually history here. So like, we're like humans are built by aliens. Like we were made to be like a bioweapon so they could like create these things. Yay, woohoo. Look at my weird lab where we're creating creatures and they've been around throughout all of history, like werewolves and minotaurs and vampires. They're just versions of these creatures. And he's like, could you imagine one of these guys in the White House? And I don't know what that means. These are okay, so you're taking the biological weapon of turning into like a gremlin-y creature, right? What is that going to do for someone who's president? What does that add? That they can like fight and like eat They slosh around like Toka and Razar. It's not like they're destroying everything in their path. They're just menaces. They're like Power Rangers villains. They're not doing damage to anything. Why would a president need to have that ability? It's not going to help anybody. But whatever, whatever. That's something they have to deal with too. We want to take over the world, but didn't you just say aliens built you? So why don't they just do that at the beginning? It doesn't matter. So then they want to get the power of the Guyver because it's manifesting itself in Mitsuki again. And then one of the weird creatures swallows it by accident and then does a weird homage to Jaws where we play a sting from the Jaws film. And a blade comes out of their chest and then the human sized Sean Barker Guyver appears. He's like, "Oh, I came back for you, Mitsuki, I love you." Then it's just more fighting. I don't hate it. It looks good and silly. The costumes get more extreme as we go on because Agent Max Reed gets turned into a weird cockroach because he gets kidnapped, thrown into a Bacta tank, and then turned into a cockroach. And he's like, "Just kill me. I'm Mark Hamill. I'm not doing any more time in this stupid suit. Just kill me." He dies. And then our big bad guy, David Gale, turns into a huge dragon thing that is defeated because we blow it up with power. And it blows up and it's dead. And we killed it. It actually looks like we blew up the suit because you see the head fly off it. So I'm like, wow, you must have done that practically. So that's kind of impressive. And then there's a sting at the end being "Oh, but the weird dog one that's got a black guy accent, he's alive to do vengeance or something." Annoying character, but he survived, whatever. Sean and Mitsuki live to fight another day. It's not good, but I had a decent enough time watching it. It looks better than a lot of modern films. It just might be the way we use lighting and just shadows because we have such a cheap budget. And I like Kamen Rider. This is fine. I'm not too familiar with the Guyver lore, but I like a big weird metal-y organic suit flying onto a guy and he beats him up. I'm fine with that. There's more egregious versions of this movie I have seen. It's not good by any stretch of the imagination, but it killed a good hour 40. I smiled. I wasn't bored. I wasn't entertained thoroughly, but that's because Mark Hamill would rather die than be on screen. And if that happens, why should I care about anything going on? Nonetheless, this film exists. So that's something. Look, the Guyver suit looks really good. Looks really good. So that's going to do it for this episode of Galactic Tales. Thank you all for watching this video. Be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. As always, you can check me on Instagram, TikTok, and Twitter. And of course, I will catch you in the next one. Have fun. Stay safe. Good luck.